Hello everyone.
So it's a very windy January day today. We're expected to have gusts up to 60 miles per hour. So there's a lot of noise here in the garage. When the wind gusts, the doors will just rattle and make a lot of noise. Sorry about that, it can't be helped. You'll hear the wind though. So I've been working on this project down in the basement to mount my solar system components, the batteries and the inverter. And this here is the mounting bracket for one of the batteries. And as you can see, there's holes here that are used to bolt the bracket to the wall. These outer holes here and here are at exactly 16 inches on center, so that would relate to mounting it to a stud wall with the standard 16-inch centers. So when I put the studs in for this, they're on 16-inch centers. The thing is though, they're metal studs and I need to mark them very accurately so when I drill the holes, they're dead on, right in the right place. And so that's what this video is about. I'm trying to place very accurate holes here. Let me adjust the camera. So these are going to be braces that go between the studs. They're metal studs between one and the other. It's going to add stiffness to the wall. And I'm going to have one at the correct height for these holes and a brace across the studs at a correct height for these holes down here. So I need to mark and drill these holes as precisely as possible so that this will line up will fit between the studs and the holes will line up perfectly with the holes in the bracket, or as perfectly as possible. So how am I going to mark those holes? Well, I'm going to make a marking jig, which will be made out of this piece of angle iron, random piece I got. I know these were cut to 19.5 inches, so I'll start by marking that. To 19.5. Right there. And I'll just make a nice square mark on it here. I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't really matter. The next thing to do is to line this bracket up with the marking jig. So basically I need to absolutely center this 19.5 inch length with this 16-inch center to center length. So this needs to be dead center. I'm just going to check something real quick here. I'm sure that this bracket was manufactured correctly, but I'm just going to check. That hole is 1¼ inch in from that side, and that hole is 1¼ inch in from that side. They're dead accurate. So now this would be easier if I had just a flat bar, but I don't have one here, and I'm not going to go down in this wind and cold down to the barn to see if I can find something. I know I have something, but I'll just hold that there. I wonder if this will reach. No. For purposes of marking this, I'll put this over here this way. these clamps will get in there now and be able to hold the flat part of the angle iron in a location that is more convenient for me, I think. That's pretty good. Okay, now I just eyeballed it. I'm going to check and make sure it's centered. That's a 1/2 inch exactly. That's almost exactly a 1/2 inch too. Let me use the ruler on this square. Yeah, that's a 1/2 inch. That's just a skosh under 1/2 inch. I'm going to adjust it. Loosen these up a little bit. Check that. That's just a hair less than 1/2 inch. That's still a bigger hair less. Ooh, now that one's right on 1/2 inch. And I have the opposite condition. Now this side is less than 1/2 inch. That's splitting the pen line. If I had a pen line on this end, that's good. I'll take it. Okay, that's good. Pretty darn accurate. So here's the point of this video. How do I get a perfectly accurate mark? A lot of people might mark the hole like this. That's a perfectly accurate mark on the outside diameter of those holes. But I want a center mark, dead center. So how can I do that? Well, I've got this set of center punches. These were from Harbor Freight, cheap as can be. I don't know if you can see that, but they come in a variety of sizes. They're very uniform, and they have on the dead center there's a little punch there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. If it doesn't show up, I'll take a photograph and put it in here. So I'm looking for a center punch that will fit that hole perfectly. I'll use these holes down here. Now there's a perfect fit. Perfect fit. Perfectly round and fits into those holes perfectly. Except, darn it, the point is too tall. So let me see what else I can do. So here's a set of center punches I made in the machine shop. And these points are much shorter. So you can see the difference here. The Harbor Freight transfer punch has a much larger point on it. In fact, it's so large it doesn't allow the cylindrical punch body to penetrate the hole in that thin mounting plate, which means it can't align the point to the center of the hole. This might work if I have the right size. Too big? These are actually case hardened. I had them hardened. That is the closest to the exact size I need. Oh, and it will fit down in there, so this will make a mark and be centered. I might be able to put a piece of tape around here to make it fit even more perfectly. There's a nice snug fit. That's going to put the point of that punch right in the center. And by the way, this is the difference between a machine shop quality center punch and those you get at the discount store, Harbor Freight. These will actually work on this thinner piece of metal. So now all I need to do is line that up. And I've got a dimple in there, exactly where the hole needs to be drilled. There's a dimple there. It's not a big dimple, but it's enough to get a center punch into. So this will be a very accurate hole here and here. It's going to fit perfectly, assuming I can drill straight. And my drill press is going to help me with that. So now let me make these dimples a little bit deeper so the drill bit can find them. The tip of this punch is right in that dimple. Just making it a little more pronounced so that the tip of the drill bit will walk itself right into the center. Now I'll give you a... Now you probably won't be able to see this. but I'll give you a close-up photograph of that little mark in the center of that circle. I want to make sure that this is firmly and squarely in the vise. So if you want to get the most accurate location on a hole, after you put your punch mark in there, you need to use a starter bit like this. Always use cutting oil when you're drilling and tapping. If you don't have a drill press, and you know most people don't, this is still the most accurate way to drill by hand, is to mark it with a transfer punch. You'll get a much better result than you would without doing it that way. Okay, so when I start to apply pressure on that punch mark with that center drill, it's going to pull it right to the center of that hole, that punch mark. And this will be the most accurate hole I can drill. Okay, that's just a starter, but it's dead center in that circle I drew. That I just wiped off. I can still see it. I'm going to have to balance this. You see that? Pull it in? What? There. Hold it right into the center of that punch mark. Now I have two holes started that are as dead nuts on 16 inches on center as I could possibly do. You might be able to find another way to do it, or a better way even, but that's the most accurate way I have available. And by the way, yes, I'm wearing safety glasses for this. You don't want to get these metal chips in your eyes, that's for sure. At this next hole, will be about halfway up to the size of the final hole, taking it up in stages. It's not the sharpest bit, but it works. You want to set things up so that the bit doesn't hit the jaws of the vise. So I've got it off the edge here, just a little bit. A little cutting fluid. just get it basically in the ballpark here. Here it is. Make sure you keep the chips cleaned off the table, or they're going to cause your holes to be crooked a little bit. The device will be held up crooked on one of those chips. Not that this is the most accurate machinist vise. It certainly isn't. So the holes in that bracket, the wall mount, are 31/64, which is just under a ½ inch. It's this size. I don't want to go that large. I think I'm going to be using 3/8 inch bolts, so I'm going to make these holes 3/8 of an inch. So I just want to check and see if these Harbor Freight center punches are going to work on this thickness of metal, and they are. So I'm going to use the drill speed chart here under the cover to determine the spindle speed. The drill bit I'm using is 27/64, and that's just a little smaller than 7/16. So I'll set it for 7/16, and this is mild steel, I'm going to say. 650 RPM is what I should be running this at. So I'll go ahead and set that up now. I don't know why it's so noisy. This thing might need a little attention. Amazing what a new short bit can do. Went through that like butter. This is a 3/8 bit. There's all kinds of space there, lots of clearance. I wanted clearance for that. I'm using 3/8 inch bolts, and there has to be a little bit of leeway. The important thing is that these are exactly 16 inches on center. So I clamped this jig up to the workpiece here, making sure that the ends were aligned. That way I know it's centered. And now I can just tap. Do it here so you can see it. Just tap the mark. See, this end fits and goes flat with the sheet metal under there. So this will put a dimple right where I need it in that sheet metal. Well, it did put a mark there, but it's not such a dimple. Oh, there it is. A very pronounced dimple. I just need to whack it. Okay, good. Now the other side. Make sure they're lined up, the ears lined up to the end here. Nice clean dimple. Nice pronounced dimple right there. I guess I should show you that. See the dimple right there? Right there and right there. Now I didn't take pains to know that this thing would align the hole with the center this way, but the way these studs are formed, the metal parts, there's a crease mark right up the center here. So I'll need to probably take the square, line this up with the dimple. Now I have a mark across that crease mark. That's actually where I need to drill. This one's almost exactly in the right spot, but again, I was shooting for 16 inches on center, and that's what I got. That's the important part. That line is right through that dimple. Now it's time to mark the rest of them. I have 7 in total. And then I can drill those holes after they're all marked. So what I've actually been doing is putting this felt tip marker right in that dimple. So it's marked with a little black spot. Just makes it easier to see. This is the last one. The other 5 are already all marked. There's my hole. There's my dimple. The other hole. Another dimple. That's all the dimples done. Now I'm just extending that dimple that is 16 inches on center across the center crease. That's where it's going to get drilled. Okay. They're all marked. Now what I really need to do is hammer these ears flat on all these, and then I can go ahead and drill them. Okay, this is the last of those braces that I need to locate the hole on. I've been using this larger punch, but it tends to drift a little bit, or it has, because this metal isn't smooth. So I'm going to use this tiny one to mark my hole right on that crease, which you can't see in the camera and I can barely see, but this will locate it better. See that little point? It's very sharp. It's less likely to wander that way, and then once that's there I can use this one. And now I have my dimple right where I need it. I've got a light on it so I can see. I've got this very sharp little punch. And that is right on the spot. Follow up with a bigger punch and make a dimple that the drill bit's going to be happy to fall into. That's right on the line, right where it needs to be. I'm clamping this to the drill press table, but I have a little block of wood under it, so I'm not banging on the table itself. This hole is so close to that line, it's almost silly to try to correct it. But there I go. And that is exactly on the mark where it needs to be. If you really need to, you can get down to the level of using a magnifying glass to see where you're marking it before you punch it. But for the accuracy I need for this isn't that precise. I got my 16 inches on center, and I'm on that center crease along the 2x4, the metal 2x4. Okay, all 7 of these braces are marked, and now I can go ahead and start drilling. Okay, I have the vise clamped down to the drill press table and the 2x4 clamped in the vise to back this up. I should be able to drill these over here okay if I just hold it by hand. So let's see how this works out. That was pretty good. Pretty darn close. They're definitely right on that seam, or that little crease. Not bad at all. I moved the 2x4 to have a fresh position on it. Okay, 27/64. Okay, that's it, all done. They came out really nice. Nice clean holes. So this is close to where those brackets are going to be. I just stuck them in there. They're not attached yet. They're not fastened. So this is where this bracket is going to be. Right here up against these braces that I made and just drilled out. And I can see that my holes here are very close. Nice. But I still have to drill out the holes in the studs. So it looks like this is going to work out fine. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for this solar equipment wall construction video.